Motion to approve the minutes from July 18th.
I'll make the motion.
Second it.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. What I think I'm gonna ask to do is do the continuances now in case there's anybody here that wants to leave. But we have a number of the hearings that have asked to be continued till the 15th, which will be our next meeting. We have the 401, 403 Pleasant Street has asked for a motion to continue.
He may be coming in,
Okay,
because we didn't receive anything.
okay.
So why don't we
We will
table?
leave that one then.
Yeah,
5 Manley Street?
they're here tonight.
Okay.
Yep, they're here. Just walked in.
And then it would be the 0 Belmont Street,
That's definitely continued.
continue. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to continue.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Lamp Post Estates.
Continued.
Motion to continue.
Yep, I'll entertain a
Second.
motion. Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Luke Estates.
That's continued.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to continue.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
And we have 2, so there's another Luke Estates that is asked to be continued as well.
Motion to continue.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those are done. All right. For the agenda, we have 161 Ash Street. We have 3 separate notices with that one. John, you want to read the report, or you want to?
Sure. Greg, are you planning to make any presentation, or just here to see that it,
Yeah, I got it on the plan if you want to see it, or.
okay. Yeah, why don't you? Carry on with the people.
I don't think I need. Need it, Roy.
Got it for the next one.
For the record, Greg Driscoll, Jacobs Driscoll Engineering, here representing Alan Doty for 161 Ash Street. And the 3 notice of intent for the 3 Form A lots. The last meeting, there were a few, 3 changes requested to the plans. One of them was the agent had asked that the swale for lot 1, which drains this swale right here, which drains these 2 driveways from the existing number 79 and the proposed lot 1 home, be extended back into here for the swale, the 51 contour and the right about here. Now it wraps all the way around so it can provide positive drainage towards the 50-foot buffer. And we want us to show the PVC pipes at the 50-foot no-touch buffer. Those are these black dots along the purple line on the plan. And also, Commission wanted a conservation easement between the 50-foot buffer and the flagged wetland line. So we've added this note here that says areas laying between the 50-foot no-touch and the wetlands line shall be designated as a conservation easement for lots 1, 2, and 3. So that'll be a plan reference that'll go with the instrument that the attorney will record for the when the chair's out. So. Any other questions?
So I reviewed it and I found that they've addressed everything that we've asked them through a series of revisions. And so I'm going to recommend that the hearings be closed. There's 3 separate hearings, so we should vote on each one and then issue an order of conditions.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to issue an order of conditions for Lot 1 Ash Street.
I'll make that motion.
No, second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. For Lot number 2 Ash Street, I'll entertain a motion to issue a standard order of conditions with the conservation easement.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. In Lot number 3 Ash Street, proposed septic system, we will need the motion for standard order of conditions with the conservation easement.
Motion to issue the standard order of conditions with the easement requirement.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And a motion to close.
Motion to close.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All set.
Okay, thank you very much.
Uh, 345 South Elm Street.
345 Elm is the INRAD that was submitted for the corner of South Elm and Lincoln Street. And if you recall at the last meeting, I had a concern about an area about 100 feet up the street from their last flag. And I met with the botanist last Friday morning and we went over the area and sure enough there was some wetland plants and hydric soils, but it was very small, narrow 5 by 10 foot area that's adjacent to the road. And then it comes up higher and then drops down into the wetland that was where they had ended their flags. So after looking at it and seeing that it was such a small area, probably created by the street drainage coming off of South Elm Street, because it's coming down the hill right at that spot and probably veers off the side of the road and into that little spot, probably just enough to make it wet, but it's not big enough to bring the jurisdiction over it. And so I'm recommending that it's insignificant. And therefore, if you agree, I would recommend issuing the ORAD, the ORAD, the Order of Resource Area Delineation, and closing the public hearing.
Right, I have no problems with that.
No.
Anybody else?
No.
Not, I'll entertain a motion to issue the ORAD.
I'll make the motion to issue the ORAD.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And a motion to close the hearing.
Motion to close.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. 401 Pleasant Street.
Still no one here.
Okay. 5 Manley Street.
All right, good evening, Don Bracken from Bracken Engineering again. Tonight I have Brian Madden from LEC Environmental Consultants with me. It's been a few meetings since we met last to review the plan, so I won't go over the whole thing with you, but update you on where the project stands right now. As you recall, Allen and Majors was hired to do a review of the plans and drainage calculations, which they did complete. We did get their report back like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. We did reply to all their comments, which I think were fine. There weren't any major plan changes that we had to do. We updated the drainage calculations and resubmitted to the commission office, I think Thursday or Friday. So we understand that they obviously have not had time to review it, but we thought it was important to at least get another set of plans into the commission. So again, no substantial plan changes as a result, in our mind, of the review. We think we addressed everything. We'll wait and see. I assume they're gonna have a follow-up review and any other comments. So as we talked about last time, when Brian couldn't be here, the project does include waivers to the 50-foot setback. In order to mitigate the impacts by those waivers, we had a proposed revegetation and mitigation plantings that we think will enhance the existing wetland area. But I'll stop right there and turn it over to Brian to explain that in more detail and the thoughts behind that proposal. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Brian Madden from LEC Environmental. As Don had reviewed, we had provided a little bit more detail on the restoration efforts and the replanting efforts. And what you have here is some areas within the limit of work that are highlighted in green. Those areas are proposed to be revegetated with a native seed mix, a conservation mix, to naturalize on the development footprint itself. We specified two specific restoration areas, one of which was a pretty well-established walking trail, ATV trail, that actually extended through the wetland, a small portion of which. So this red highlighted area right here, we're proposing to let that naturally revegetate. That's an area that's densely eastern white pine, closed canopy, so we don't want to really plant anything in there. It'll just naturally fill in over time. But once you get to here, into the wetland, it breaks out. We're proposing to plant 6 high bush blueberry shrubs, and then the remaining portion of the trail out to the development footprint, planning to propose 9 arrowwood shrubs. And because this is all denuded, open, exposed sandy conditions, we'll introduce clean organic topsoil as necessary just for rooting substrate. But the primary larger restoration area that's a little over 13,800 square feet. This is the portion that's highly degraded by the off-road vehicles. There's a little turnaround area right abutting the wetland, and there's a big bonfire area that we're proposing to clean that all out, rototill it, and then introduce clean topsoil before planting the area. We also specified a conservation mix, seed mix in that area, and we're proposing to plant 15 red maple and 15 pussy willow along the edge of the wetland boundary, which is highlighted in green here. And then kind of filling in from there up toward the development footprint. I've spec'd out 25 high bush blueberry, 25 bayberry, 25 arrowwood, and 25 staghorn sumac shrubs. And then along the development edge, proposing 10 eastern white pine saplings and 10 eastern red cedar saplings, just to give it a little bit more visual screening buffer and let that area naturalize. And once the development proceeds forward, the off-road vehicular use is being eliminated, and that area can start to fill in and naturalize. But we provided some restoration notes, and those are kind of the broad strokes for the restoration effort. I guess we'll turn over to questions if there are any.
So that area, the big red area is shaded, that's considered in the 50-foot, or?
That's all within the 50-foot. Yeah, here's the wetland boundary. The 50-foot goes something like that. So that's the primary mitigation area for some of the intrusions into the 50-foot. It's a few areas right here for, I think think this is a spillway. And some minor encroachments over here where this wetland finger kind of tipped out. And this whole finger was created because of this. There's like a dip in a cart path trail that kind of spills over and drains into that area, so it's kind of artificially been created and extended out. And then we have the isolated little wetland further to the south that's in that natural bowl that has crisscrossed by ATV trails. But yeah, no, this is currently all degraded, open,
Yeah.
Minimal vegetation. If there's any vegetation, it's mostly invasive species. So, we want that to restore itself. And so just looking at like the numbers for the intrusion into naturally vegetated areas in the 50-foot versus what we're restoring in the 50-foot, you're looking at like the 5-to-1
Yeah.
mitigation ratio.
Yeah. Look good to you?
Yeah,
Plantings?
yes, nice mix, and
Yeah.
yeah, I don't have any problems with it. So all we need is a 53G report, and
Yep.
all right. Think we'll have that by next meeting?
I would think so, don't you?
I hope so, yeah.
All right. Any other?
So, in other words, you've seen the report, but you just don't have it, it hasn't been written up.
Actually, he saw the report, made the changes, submitted the items to us, both hard copy and electronic, and then sent the information to the 53G, but I heard it got returned.
Yeah,
Or
we
something.
emailed it to them on Thursday, and it didn't bounce back to us on Saturday, so we realized today that it bounced back, so
Yeah.
we re-emailed it again
Yeah.
So
today.
as soon as he
But
As soon
gets
as-
his stamp, then we're done.
They would be happy to meet with them and go over any outstanding issues. The only one item that was in the report that we really didn't address because we didn't know if we should, is they did mention some missing items in relationship to the town bylaw, the erosion control bylaw. And that, I went through the bylaw, and it looks pretty clear that that's a completely separate application to the Conservation Commission. So, we didn't address, there are certain plan item requirements in that don't show up here, that he mentioned in his reports, but we realize that we do have to come back one more time just for that particular aspect.
For the stormwater management
Right.
permit.
Right.
So,
So need a motion to
All right.
continue.
I'll entertain a motion to continue to the 15th.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, looks good.
401 Pleasant Street?
No, they're still
Nope.
not here.
All right, then we'll move on. I believe we have an Eagle Scout project.
Yep. Alright, well, I'm Gavin Barros with Troop 25 in West Bridgewater. My Eagle Scout project, I have to do it before, the deadline is June 29th next year. So my plan was to put 2 benches in the rail trail right out here by St. Anne's Church, down the road a little. You can see I have a small map here. This is St. Anne's, and this is where it comes out close to Rising Sun, that street. There's going to be 1 bench here. We already walked down there and we saw that it's not too close to the wetlands, so that one shouldn't be a problem. And right up here, this one's by Esther Trail, by Esther Drive, that comes out to the rail trail. That's closer to the wetlands, but there was already some construction there with the whole boardwalk and the fence that goes next to it. So I was hoping that that wouldn't be a problem either. And then my plan was to buy benches from Ramco even further down the street, and they had built the ones at Friendship Park, I found out. So I went and talked to them, and while talking to him, he mentioned he had some benches he would donate that they tore up from an old park that they were recycling. So he offered to donate them, and here's a picture. They look just like this. They're 8 feet long, and not in the best condition because they're old. They've been sitting back there for a while. But he was telling me how I could easily fix them up, and I think I could do a good job with that. And this is a picture of one of the benches his friend that he gave one to restored, and he has a bunch back there. So if I need any wood or anything, he said I could just use those as scrap.
Mhm.
So his friend made it look real nice, and that's in his yard. And that's just a picture of the rail trail. So the plan is to get those benches. I'll bring it to my house, and I'll have volunteer work from the other scouts in my troop to sand them down and repaint the benches, put them back together. And he said he'd be nice enough to weld on pipes for legs, add some length so we can bury them in the ground so they're not going to be moved.
Nice.
That's it.
When we, just a little aside, when we put these benches and these, do we have any specifications we have to follow because of potential liability or anything like that?
No,
Just-
we sent an email to Chris and asked him
Yeah,
if we could get any specs for what they use in the park, and he referred them to Ramco, who supplies them for the park, so
excellent,
it's basically the same
good.
idea.
I went to Friendship Park and measured the height from the top of the seat to the ground on the bench, and it was 1.5 feet. So
Those are the specs for that, but
Yeah.
other than that.
So I gave the numbers to the guy down at Ramco, and he said when he welds the pipe on, he's gonna make sure it's long enough so we could sink it in the ground and have enough for at least 1.5 feet.
Right, right.
Now, did you measure from where the benches are gonna be to the wetlands?
Yeah, we went out and I showed him where they were,
Okay.
and nothing that he's doing is gonna impact them at all.
Yeah. Sounds like a really good project.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
So basically, he's just looking
Yeah.
for a
No, looks great.
concurrence that he can go ahead with the project.
I'll entertain a motion to go ahead with the project for the Eagle Scout.
Sure.
I'll make the
Benches.
motion.
Do you have
Yeah.
a plan on when you're gonna have this done?
When I was thinking later this fall,
Yeah.
I would be working on them and probably finishing them.
Okay.
He has to go through the steps with the scouts first, so.
So
depends
before
how
the
long they
ground
take.
freezes
Yeah,
or
hope
whatever?
yeah.
hope so,
definitely.
otherwise early spring or
Yeah.
Okay.
after the thaw.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
Okay.
second.
Moving to second, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
That-
Good luck.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming.
Thank you.
All right.
One of the things that you want to do is make sure that the commission gets copies of pictures
Yeah.
and any mapping that you do.
Yeah.
With the installation pictures, just things so we can keep it in a file for us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, go ahead.
Grinding along here.
We still have that Pleasant Street hanging out, hanging on the agenda here?
We also had a possible, somebody coming in regarding the Old West Center Street solar farm
Oh, yes.
discussion, so we can leave those open.
All right. Do we want to tackle the idea of putting a deadline on getting information back to the commission at least 1 week before the close of the agenda, which is usually done on Wednesday of the week before the meeting? So we need it a week before then to have it in our office or at the consultant if that's the case. And if it isn't, then it automatically gets bumped to the next meeting.
How do you get that out to the applicants?
We'll have to send emails and put it on the website and just say it is a policy of the commission.
Okay,
And if you're agreeable to something like that, we should put it on the agenda for the next meeting and then actually take a formal action again, if you're interested in something like that.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it would clean up a lot of these,
Yeah.
keep extending,
Steve,
Last minute.
I mean,
Yeah.
meeting to meeting. I mean, you don't get it there, then you're way out.
And we can tell them as they come in, as the
yeah.
Yep.
new ones come in anyway, so.
Yeah,
And-
plus, that way when Katie sends out the agenda, we know exactly what we're going to do.
Right, whether we, like, again, we keep continuing this
Yeah.
4 times in a row, and
Yeah.
And
It makes it tough.
any of butters, you know, might misinterpret that as a, you know, comes in last second.
May I ask a question? So at the beginning, you voted to continue. So somebody who was already on the agenda for this meeting, you're moving them to the next meeting?
yes.
Okay, because I would recommend also with that is that something can only be continued a couple of times, and it's off until they come back and say, we're ready, right? Because they're really not even saying they're gonna be ready for the next meeting, but you're gonna push it to the next meeting anyways.
Do they even really know?
Um,
those?
Well,
sometimes
unfortunately,
they
some of
do.
these are the 53Gs,
So
or
sometimes they might not know.
us getting out, or John getting out to actually do a delineation with the botanists to verify it. So some of those,
A little hard to time.
Yeah, but I would just recommend that knowing of, you know, if the situation, right?
Right,
And so you know somebody said, okay, I'd like to be on the agenda, and then they pushed it off. Now, they really only have to push it off once, and then the policy is you just move it along from there.
I think they call though, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to send us something.
That they're not gonna be, or that they want it continued?
Yes,
or-
They want
But
it.
now it's gonna have to be the week before, no matter what.
But,
Okay, so they
yeah,
asked for a continuance.
Right, we don't just,
automatically do it, they have to
and they
request it.
send the email at 3 o'clock in the afternoon of the day of the meeting, and it doesn't give us any opportunity to call anybody and tell them, don't bother coming in, which would be nice if we could do that, but,
I mean, when it does eventually get to the point where we get a little fed up, we do always have the option to deny without prejudice and make them refile
That's
and start
happened.
over again.
That's happened on
Which
some.
does occasionally happen if they can't. I mean, normally when they come to us with these, we eventually say, okay, it's gonna be a month or 3 meetings out. We're not just gonna keep going meeting to meeting. It's rather unusual that we keep getting it meeting to meeting requests. A lot of times, it's a whole month off. That, hey, you haven't been able to get it done yet. Let's make it a longer term so you can actually get it done in time and come back when it's really finished.
so I would recommend that, that the commission vote to put this on the agenda for the next meeting where we can discuss particulars about it.
Right,
And
come up with real verbiage and then,
and then
So we
adopt
need
it
a
the
motion to
following-
do that? Or just to put it on?
Or we can just
we
put
can
it
just
on
put it on the
Yeah,
agenda.
just
agenda,
put it
as it'll
on,
be
yeah.
an item that we're gonna,
Can we say something, like, could we have said something tonight to these people?
No, because we
Because it's
haven't
not-
officially
Okay.
done it, and so I'd like to have the wording
Yeah.
just right, specifying dates for closing the agenda, deadlines for getting stuff in, to be eligible to be on the agenda, that kind of thing.
and I think the next time we get the notification, if they do want to extend it the next meeting, they have to come in and talk to us first. Because if the applicant was here now, I would have asked tonight, are you gonna be ready for the 15th, or are we really gonna put you into September?
Right.
And then we can fill our plate accordingly and
Yeah,
not plan
yeah,
on
sure.
being here late.
Yeah, a
Your
lot of
butters can all show up.
continuances, yeah.
But just getting an email last minute asking, or a phone call, can you put us on for the next meeting? Knowing that that's the 3rd next meeting request, when they could have just said right off the bat, we're not gonna be ready till August,
Yeah.
and done that in June, and everybody could have had a free night.
Right, we could, if we have nothing, we could cancel the meeting and not have everybody come here for 5 minutes and then go home.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it's gonna be important to know that. So that's what I'm recommending, that it go on the next agenda. All right.
Great.
Perfect.
Good idea, yep.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone.
Steve, thanks for the
Did you
input.
sign in?
I did.
Because I have to figure how to spell your last name when I write this up.
It's on there, nice and clean. You want me to tell you
You could tell me now.
that? C-U-R-R-I-E-R. like Currier and Ives.
Courier and Ives, okay, thank you.
That's a good way to
Thank
remember.
you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good
So,
night.
yeah.
Good night.
Couple other things under administrative discussion. And John had mentioned it to me, and I think it's a great idea to actually designate a department head. Most other departments have one, and it would make it easier signing pay slips, so to speak, and day-to-day functions within the office, to have one designated. Just so that it's there and it's done and it flows with the
I'm sure
next.
that's the de facto situation anyway. right?
Yeah, it is.
May I interject something?
Yes.
I was going through records today and old-time paperwork, and there's a memo from the selectmen that have done this years ago. I can pull it out and resurrect it for the next, if you want to see the directive, so that it's already in writing.
So
Right,
they've done
it's
this in the
just
past?
Something that
No,
we
we
had never
haven't, but
actually
they
just
did.
formally
No,
taken
they
out.
have, yeah.
Yeah.
That the agent would be the department head?
No, the John would be.
John.
It was specific.
So like a long time ago?
It was at least a couple of years ago.
Which, yeah, was,
Maybe that's why de
They just assume
facto
you
they
are.
always assume I am. I don't know.
Maybe that's why they come after you all the time.
But it's still with oversight of the commission.
Oh, yes.
It's not like,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
so,
That makes sense.
that being said,
Just as an example, you know, this policy thing, that would be something that maybe I dream up and then bring it to the commission and say, this is what I was dreaming up. And you could say, oh, that's far-fetched. No. And just because I'm department head doesn't mean that's if you appoint me. Doesn't mean that it would fly. It still has to get permission from the commission.
Sure.
I mean, things like that need to be approved by the
Sure,
commission.
sure.
Judy, would you like to maybe run for it?
Me?
Yeah.
No. I'm in the witness protection program. I can't do anything.
and I'll entertain a motion, we create the position of department head for John.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Okay, thank
So
you.
how does this relate to what we know the selectmen already have down on the books? Endorse their memo?
We just ratified them.
Ratify, all right.
Yeah.
That's a good word, I like it.
And the other thing, which I think is an awesome idea, is an electronic copy policy.
Yep.
And I talked to John a little bit earlier about it, that we could require a copy sent digitally at the beginning, copies of changes, and a
Yeah.
final and as-built copy sent digitally. I mean, they can come at presentation night with the copies of what we actually need to look at, but we don't need a set of plans like this for every one of us to look at, when we only need 3 pages out of it, not all
Yeah.
16 pages.
Why do they do that, John? I mean, is this,
Well, it's
they've been around digital, they've been around forever.
it's in the actually in the bylaw.
Yeah,
So eventually, the bylaw needs to be revised,
right.
and it actually calls for not only the copies that the commission gets, but copies go to the building department, the selectmen, the board of health, and all of them just chuck them because they know it's being heard by the commission. So
And that there's a copy there if they want to walk in and see it. I mean,
True.
it's a lot of waste of paper for all those subdivision sheets, and most engineers and surveyors consider a set of plans to be complete and not just 1 or 2 plans out of it. You need to have, if the cover sheet says there's 6 plans, there needs to have 6 plans in it.
Right, right.
So, but what they generally do is you see, they come in and they'll show you maybe 1 or 2 sheets of the
Right.
subdivision explaining what they're doing. And the rest of them might be details, things that the 53G needs to look at, I need to look at.
the calculation pages for all the.
Or if a commission member wants to see something like that, we'll have a hard copy
Right.
plus the digital copies, and it could be even emailed to individual commissioners or all of them if you want it. But a lot of that stuff is more engineering and detail stuff that really has nothing to do with the wetlands, other than saying that they're complying with the standards required for a design of drainage or a design of a catch basin, that kind of thing.
Maybe, we have money, we could buy a couple of iPads and
Well, that,
we could look at it that way. Yeah.
that's the thing that I would love to be able to have you be
Yeah.
able to do, is
That
open
way
up,
we don't-
open up that.
Or, I mean, even the presentation, putting it digitally on a screen there where everybody can see it versus,
Well, yeah,
I mean-
because then you got the public, they have to see it,
Right.
but.
So if you have the iPad and
Yeah.
they have that easel turned back
They
towards
could.
the
Yeah,
thing, and we have it up on the screen maybe,
perfect.
everybody can see everything instead of them feeling like they're left out, or you not being able to really see what they're pointing to because
Sure.
you're looking down at a plan. And
Sure.
so I think I'd love to see us all get iPads to sit in front of us.
Mm.
So we'll work on that too.
So upstairs, you'd just have electronic files, you wouldn't have to maintain.
we'd have one set
no, what's
of
the
originals.
one-
We have to have a one
You do.
complete set of originals as a public record, but that would cut down
Right
tremendously.
now, there's hundreds, if not thousands
Yeah.
of files that have
Revisions.
7 copies and then
They will
You
cut
just
down
seven
the
times of
as-built-
revision, right.
As-built is the only.
The cost of the filing
For
as
the
well.
filing, yeah, and all that, then that would cut down a lot of
Oh, yes, and
expense all around. And with that cut
Because, I
pad,
mean, you have to have
we could probably get all those
7
stuff that we
copies of the
need.
whole DEP filing
Yeah,
paperwork.
yeah, oh, yeah.
I mean, which
Yeah.
John reads,
We
I
just
read
end
a
up
fair
throwing
number
them
of them,
out,
but
yeah.
if they were digital and you wanted them, we could all get them that way and
Yeah, that makes sense.
not have
and
to.
we can make copies because we have that that wide format copy machine now that's shared by all the departments at Town Hall.
So if we do have a resident or somebody comes in and wants or requests a
Yeah,
copy,
yeah.
we can get that. I mean, it's-
Wave of the future.
Till something crashes.
Oh, where'd it go?
I have, from last year's budget, I ordered a bunch of large storage devices to
The
be able to
backup.
put this on so we can back it up and make sure that we have a duplicate of anything that we do get in.
It's good.
We want to come up with a written policy to vote on next meeting? Or do we just want to make it a standard?
Well, I guess basically the idea would be just that they submit it electronically. You know what, I'll do it that way.
I mean,
I'll
just,
spell it right out so that.
right, so that when they ask, when they file a new filing, we can say, this is our requirement from now on. New filings here on out, this is, we're going to require the original, the as-built, changes made throughout the process.
Yeah.
Everything digital except one hard copy each time, and then handouts for us.
Mhm.
That way, if you want to tweak a little bit of it, you can.
Okay. And then we have some order of conditions and certificates to sign.
Did you want that particular one on the policy to be a motion, or is that just the general?
We're gonna put on the agenda next meeting
Yep.
to have a written policy to take a look at, and adopt.
All right, on the agenda, there should be 192 Spring Street, Certificate of Compliance. No?
Yep,
Okay.
yep. And you,
Kimberly Pearl.
Yep, that, I reviewed everything as my report indicates and inspected it, and it's got grass growing real great, and so I'm recommending issuing the certificate. And I reviewed the as-built too. So I'm recommending issuing the certificate without a bond.
I'll entertain a motion to issue a certificate of compliance without a bond for 192 Spring Street.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Passed.
And then for 690 North Main Street, same thing.
Right.
This was a septic upgrade, and the septic was right in the front yard. And,
Oh, I saw that, yeah.
And so it's actually the farthest away from the wetlands, but still within the jurisdiction. And while I was out there, I happened to turn and look across the street to the,
Neat yard.
uh,
Our favorite place.
to one of our favorite places, and it appears that maybe it's coming down very soon because it looks like it's unoccupied and they've got a dumpster out. And I think the owner of the land, who has his business next door, is going to be successfully tearing it down, so.
Just storage.
Long time
after
coming.
that.
The house.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's had a big red mark for a
Because
little
a
while.
couple of months ago, they had demo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Demo,
Yes.
yes. Or did it say do not demo?
Trying to urge them along.
So the contractor's sign that he used to have up there about selling mulch and all that, that's
Gone.
gone,
The
and so.
boat is gone.
I think so.
No.
No, the boat is still there.
I don't know, I didn't
It's
see
over on
it,
the
so I
left.
think it is,
Okay.
unless it,
That could be part of the demo.
Maybe they're living in the boat.
Anyway,
So I will entertain a motion to issue the certificate of compliance without bond for 690 North Main Street.
I'll make the motion.
second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Passed. And we have 457 South Main Street.
that was just you voted last meeting to issue an extension for 1 year.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's just the signatures.
We just
which I
need
have.
signatures on that one.
Okay.
All right. And we had
Anything else?
401 Pleasant Street. We'll need to continue for lack of
Showing up.
information.
Let me just see if there's anybody out there by any chance.
.403, I like this. 403 AKA
401, yeah, I mean,
Some of it might have
What
been
is
my
that?
This
error.
is on the same side of the street.
it's one of those where I think the number from one group is different than the number from another, and who uses which one is.
Mm.
It might be because one was the original lot and it was subdivided too.
Yeah.
Let's see, put that fence up. This doesn't look like it was kinda.
401 isn't here, but the old West Street solar thing.
Is
Oh,
driving in the parking lot?
Yes.
Okay.
So I would recommend on 401, also known
continue.
as 403, or vice
403,
versa.
401.
So I will
That,
entertain a motion to continue that public hearing to the 15th.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Moving second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Alrighty.
See, in the future, we wouldn't do that.
Right,
Yeah. Because we don't know if even the 15th is good.
right.
That's true. So in the meantime, while we're waiting for Mr. Silva to get set up, I have the extension for
We can put our signatures on papers.
the South Elm Street, ORAD, and the 3 order conditions for the house lots on Ash Street.
My
Correct.
gosh.
Hello. Come on in.
That's for
You're it.
5 minutes?
Really?
Yeah.
Papers dragging.
We're all hoping to get out of here and have dinner or ice cream or both.
Geez, I was thinking like, when I looked at your agenda, I went, oh my gosh,
That's what we
Hey, we
thought
know how to
too.
get business done.
I guess so. You have a drive-through?
It's coming to that.
Right here.
Well, this was, I'm Larry Silva, Silver Engineering. I feel like I got arrested.
No, you don't.
Get you guys out of here. Old West Street. Okay, Spadia property. Some time ago, back in 15, I guess, this was brought forward for a solar farm on that property. So there was, I think it was Tetra Tech?
Yes.
Tetra Tech. What's their name? Tetris. And what was proposed here was a layout. This is sort of the layout of all the solar panels. And you can see that in relationship to that road that comes down in there now, in through there. And there was some drainage along the side in here. And the different company that's actually
looking to do this now. Actually, one of the members of this company, it was involved with us when we did the one up here at the golf course up here, the driving range. Nice guy, Samir. So this is what they propose to do, and as you can see on here, there's no panels going across that roadway. They do go a little bit further to the north, but there is not as much going down this way, not as intense, except that there's an area in here that there is some removal of trees in order to get, so that there's no shading on the solar panel. So that's what this is doing in here. And then the other part of it was, there's a non-jurisdictional ditch that runs in through here, and they were looking to try to not be 50 feet away from it, but to be closer to it. And I think it's 20 feet on, closer to 16 or 17 feet on one side, 20 on the other. It's a ditch that just feeds down through here. And then as far as what they were proposing for the drainage would be the same as what was being proposed before, except extended in the areas. For example, it's extended up in this area here because there was no drainage shown on that one, at that point. But all the contours go in this direction. And so they were looking to try to still capture everything that was going by. And then the other thing was that there was a discussion about the town getting access. The town owns some property over here. And so what this is involving is providing for an easement through here that would allow for access into the town property.
What is that over there, town property?
It's one of the conservation parcels that's been landlocked and we couldn't get to it.
They're not proposing any filling or bringing in material, it's pretty much using what's...
Pretty much just using what's there, the topography that's there.
Yeah.
And so there is an existing order of conditions in place right now. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to get this thing done because the current programs expire, the end of the year, and so they're trying to get to the point where they can actually build this thing in the fall. So that's why they're looking to try to see how they can get this permitted and still be able to go forward. To me, it's a lesser impact than what was proposed before, except for the fact that they're near this non-jurisdictional. You can see that's the biggest difference is, they're sort of into this area in here. Okay, but in no cases are they doing any work. Here's your, the 50 foot. There's nothing inside the 50 foot except in that area there, which is non-jurisdictional. Everything else is staying outside of it. Nothing on that other side. That's pretty much what they're looking to do. And I guess what we were trying to find out is,
Are they proposing any regrading or anything near that ditch or anything, or
no,
that's pretty much?
No. We just let it continue to go the way that it goes now.
What would a jurisdictional ditch be?
Well,
What is a jurisdictional ditch versus a non?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna leave that to John.
well, the original botanist for the first project
Right.
had flagged it.
Yeah.
And basically what it is a drainage outfall for, it's that gray area that you see with the bulb on top is an actual
Yeah.
paved industrial roadway that
Right.
never went anywhere. So it has its water mains, it has its drainage pipes in it. And so it does collect some rainwater into the catch basins and it outflows into that ditch.
Mm.
So the original applicant held 50 feet away from it to honor our 50-foot buffer. And when I was out doing my inspections, I noticed that it wasn't really much of a buffer, a lot of invasive scrub type vegetation. So when they came in talking about maybe encroaching on that 50-foot buffer from the bottom area that's wet in that ditch, I said, gee, that's going to require some type of mitigation. So they discussed the different alternatives, and the idea of using the paved road as a access easement, plus that rectangular shaped thing up there,
Yeah.
actually going to the town-owned land as an easement seemed to be a reasonable trade-off for allowing some encroachment into a 50-foot buffer of a ditch. So if it was the wetland, that might be a different story, stay away from it, do what you need to do. But for the ditch, I didn't seem to think that it was that much of an impact on it. And when you look at the vegetation, it's not all that great as it is.
I assume there'll be a chain link fence
Yes,
around.
I'm showing a green line. There's a green line that goes right around and through here. It follows the road in here,
Okay.
and it goes right around and follows the outside right in here.
So this is the one that they wanna do, or is this the one?
This is the one I want to do.
So this.
That's what you
The
already
approved
permitted.
one is on the right.
A lot
and what
more
they're
intense in
looking
terms of how
to do
much.
is the one on the left.
It's just, but it's in a little bit slightly different.
Hmm.
And it's
Same,
mostly, it's mostly because of the shading issue. I
same
don't think
number
that
of
they did a good job of
panels,
shading.
same number of output, pretty much identical.
That's not one I'm too good at.
Okay.
Okay.
Just,
I think that the panels may be a little bit, I think now, every year it seems to be that they're getting a little bit more efficient, But they're comfortable with this meeting the criteria for the, for the program that's out there now for solar.
That's a big change.
What I was thinking, if the commission is interested in this idea, because this is just informal, that they would have two choices, either file a new notice of intent using the wetlands from the previous one, or asking for an amendment. And if it's the same applicant, it could probably go as an amendment. If it's a different applicant, we might have to ask them to.
Yeah, because it's a different applicant in the sense that I guess this was issued to, unless it was issued to the actual property owner. Was it
think
issued to Spadia?
No, I think it was to Tetra.
To
Wait a minute, maybe I can find
Solventera.
it.
Solventera was the applicant.
Okay, so if that's not Spadia, the property owner, then that would be a different entity than the
So who would be the applicant for this one?
Well, I guess it would either be what is it, Heliobas, or it would be maybe in conjunction with Spadia.
Yeah,
Might be safer with Spadia, I think.
I think Spadia is going to own the land and it's going to be
And it's
leased.
just gonna be
30-year
leased.
lease
I think that's
kind
what
of
it
thing.
is.
Right, so I think it would have to be, really, it should be both.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Because it is, Spadia is gonna be there, and he's the underlying owner of the whole thing.
So I think it requires probably the filing of a new notice of intent. And again, I'd be willing to accept the original wetland filing.
Sure.
delineation.
Yeah.
And I
That makes sense. No.
drainage
Yeah.
spot. I mean,
No, that one's better than the other one.
yeah. I mean,
I don't know how we put the other one.
yeah. I think it's an improvement. So I would.
Yeah, I think it better get approved.
Oh, it's fine.
Filing a new one, bring it in, and
Okay. So if I were to file it like, not tonight, I let everybody go home, so I can't come back in and do that, right? If I file it shortly, will I have to have it in by to be sort of on your?
It can be on September 1st or 3rd.
It's a holiday, is it not?
Well, you don't have to come on
September-
holiday, you can come on
September
a Tuesday
5th.
next.
There you go.
September 5th would be the next meeting.
September 5th.
So it looks as if you had it in by August 21st. So there's no rush, but you can get it in.
Yeah, I'd rather get it in sooner rather than later.
September, yeah. Fourth of the holiday.
What time is it?
Ooh, it's hard to believe September.
Yeah.
So you're saying file by,
21 August.
so I always have this temp to put like 19 or 18 in here, you know, when I did it.
Is every town about the same guidelines? Are they all
Well, as far as the filing,
filings and,
well, you gotta have the amount of time for the advertising.
yeah.
So I think you guys are about as tight as you can be. And people do ask for it to be more, and it's kind of hard sometimes, you know, but it's pretty much the same. And then that would be for a meeting on September, you said 5th?
Fifth, yeah.
5th?
Yeah.
And I should make that so it's both Heliobas and Speed. And as far as that easement, what I would try to do is to see if I can get at least some sort of, at least initially, a letter of intent to grant the easement.
Okay, that sounds good. Then we can finalize it as part of the order of conditions if
Yeah.
it was granted.
Yeah. That would be good. That's all I got.
Awesome. And we'll wait for your
Yeah.
paperwork.
How'd you
And
guys get through that agenda so fast? My gosh, it's a scary looking agenda.
Continuance.
Yeah.
It has been for a while.
It'll catch up to itself.
I know.
We,
September
actually-
5th.
we are actually proposing a policy on closing the agenda. And if the plans for that agenda included revisions that needed to be made in between, and if they weren't there a week before the close of the agenda, then it's gonna be automatically bumped. So it'll all go in writing, but they've been going through a series of meeting after meetings of continuations.
Yeah.
And we don't find out about it until 2 hours before the meeting is to start and all the abutters come in.
Yeah, that's not fair to people.
Yeah,
And
they
wait.
keep
Drag 'em out.
coming in and keep coming in. And,
Yeah. That's, and I would tell you that there would be some that would like to do that to try to discourage them from coming to the next meeting.
Yeah, sure.
Definitely.
You know
Exactly.
what I'm saying? Because they get
Yep.
tired of coming to find things that
That's
continue
right.
and stuff.
That's right.
So,
I think we've
yeah,
seen
that's
it.
that's not fair
Yeah.
to them.
True.
So if it doesn't appear on the calendar, they won't even bother coming. Because
Right.
they'll know that it's definitely not gonna be on, so.
Yeah. Oh, it's interesting.
But it'll all come out in an email to all the different engineers.
And after last minute cancellations, at some point, we'll start using the power of
We'll
denying
close
without
and
prejudice
you
and
can
refile it.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah. no,
I mean,
yeah.
it's, when you're into 2 months worth of continuances and nobody shows and we get last minute ones, it gets to be,
Mhm.
gets old fast.
Well, I have to wonder why. Is it people are just busy? I guess.
Some of it is.
Busy.
Some of it is that there are a lot of overlapping deadlines that we're all dealing with,
Yeah.
you know, trying to make things happen.
Yeah.
And
But in the same sense, they could have just said, continue it 1 month,
Yeah.
and then asked for another month at that month, so then you only had 2 continuances, not 8
Yeah.
or 6, or,
yeah.
I mean,
Well, like I have that one that's on the Pleasant Street one there that we're waiting on ZBA to sort of bring in their consultant, who's actually reviewing now, is Archibald.
Oh,
Okay, so he's actually doing review on that project. So that was one of the reasons why you guys continued, so that you have the benefit of what the comments are from that one. So we're scheduled to go back to ZBA this month, but my guess is probably won't be ready, or we won't be ready to address whatever comments he comes back with. We'll probably end up in September on that one. It'd be nice if I could get it back before this one, wouldn't that be nice? That would be like actually efficient. if I could do that.
I'll entertain a motion, guys.
thank you, Larry.
Seconded?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.